Simply put, more money, more problems.
Andrew moves within a world where reputation can be just as valuable as wealth. What interested you most about exploring that kind of pressure?
Ooh, this is especially applicable to Andrew because he is of wealth, but of a certain type of wealth, and that matters in
Mm.
this social elite world. He is of new money, and the money comes from a place that other people in this high society don't necessarily respect.
Mm.
And so, because of that, he's kind of an outsider. And that really plagues him because even though he's this very, very, on the outside, very hard, tough, masculine alpha, he projects this version of himself that just doesn't care what other people think. In actual fact, he's very insecure, and as that facade starts to crack, we learn that he just really desperately wants to be loved and he wants to fit in. And so I think that duality made it very interesting, and yeah, it's very prevalent in Andrew's storyline.
What's something about Andrew that never gets said out loud in the show, but was essential for you to understand as an actor?
Whoa. Andrew's storyline actually differs from most of the characters because he has someone to share his secret with, that he does through these very beautiful, intimate scenes.
Mm.
Most of the characters they've got an objective and they've got this secrecy and they're trying to hide it and but he openly talks about this with one of the other characters. So he's quite open in that sense. I think it's where his pain comes from and where
Mm.
his struggle comes from, because he projects this very masculine, alpha type exterior that's very hard, and it's like he's impenetrable and unfazed by everything. He doesn't care. That's why he can speak his mind all the time and be free with his words. But in actual fact, when that starts to crumble, you see the vulnerability inside him in his quieter moments, and he gets to share that with Madeline, which is beautiful. But it's understanding where that comes from, and I feel like it comes from an insecurity and a certain outsider status that he's given himself because he doesn't feel like he deserves to be a part of this high society. He hasn't made the money. He's trying to prove himself to be worthy, and that I think was the secret for me to unlock where Andrew's needs came from.
David often finds himself caught between different worlds and loyalties. How did you approach portraying that tension? And what was the biggest misconception you had about David when you first read the script?
David is under a lot of tension and a lot of pressure from, I'd say, three main sources. The first is towards his employers, the Hex family, with whom he has a great respect for and a good relationship with. To his friends, including Andrew, Carrie, Cola, and to his son. And so all of these people think and perceive him to be this wonderful, charming, likable, smart, composed person. But deep down, he is struggling with a great darkness and he's quite emotionally broken. And part of him throughout the season thinks that he can salvage a better life for himself and become a better father and a better person for his son. And I think the other part of him wants to disappear and to remove what he thinks is a burden for other people that he is. So in order to portray that as accurately and honestly as possible, I kind of started with those places in my own life where I felt similar emotions, not to rely on when I was actually filming or preparing for the character, but just kind of as a jumping off point. And so spending time with some of the situations or experiences that I regret that I thought I could have done better in, that I felt guilt about, uh, working through those experiences and how that felt did inform how I chose to portray David. And at the end of that experience, as uncomfortable as it was, I walked away with it with a bit of a catharsis and release, knowing that it was okay for me to forgive myself.
If viewers could hear Andrew's inner monologue for one day, what do you think would surprise them the most?
This is a very problematic question because Andrew's inner monologue is also his outer
Hmm.
monologue. He has no filter, and that's one of the things I love about his character. And it made it so fun to play. We really tried hard to strike that balance between making him just unapologetically himself
Hmm.
and also likable at the same time. So there's a couple of things that he says in the show already that are pretty borderline not okay. But I think the one that would surprise you was one of the ones that came out on set that was not used for the final.
Hmm.
He approaches a group of attractive women in a club, as Andrew does, and just says what's on his mind and makes a joke that's probably very inappropriate to most people. And he's just like, "Hey, have you girls heard of Rohypnol?" And that's pretty shocking.
David can be difficult to predict. As an actor, how do you balance keeping a character mysterious while still making them relatable?
Hmm. That's a great question. I think I balanced keeping David mysterious and relatable by taking it one scene at a time. I think part of how I wanted to execute that was by preparing as meticulously as possible and kind of charting out where I was at every scene in every episode. I kind of do these charts when I prepare, and that helps because we shoot completely out of order. So no matter where it is, I'm not just kind of shooting in the dark, thinking where I'm supposed to be emotionally or mentally that day or that scene, but I can kind of refer to this chart that I have and the scenes that have already been shot. Uh, and in terms of making him relatable, I think I made him hopefully relatable by committing to all the choices that are written on the script. I think my job is to honor the script regardless of how I personally feel about the decisions he's making. I certainly don't agree with all of them, but that's the character that's on the page. I want to tell the story as truthfully as possible, and so that means going to those dark places, going to those uncomfortable, taboo situations that David finds himself in and has to find himself out of.
He's a pretty mysterious guy. If you could ask David one question and be guaranteed an honest answer, what would you ask him?
Why do you find it so hard to forgive yourself?
Ooh, nice.
Nice.
What do you think this season says about the cost of maintaining status and influence?
Simply put, more money, more problems. I think what the season ends up showing is these characters live in this beautiful, lavish world. They have a great time. I think it's easy to envy the lives that these characters lead. But ultimately, peace and joy and things like that, you can't automatically buy them with happiness, nor solve your own personal problems with wealth. So I hope that audiences will come away with it understanding that everyone has an opportunity, no matter where you are in life, to be mindful and intentional about your life and hopefully not make some of the mistakes that our characters have made.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about it now, and most of these situations that these characters have got into, they sort of revolve around lies, deception, um, and there's a obviously a crime thrillery aspect to this too. But I guess it's that regardless of your status or level of wealth, I think what the takeaway is it's not worth it to I think authenticity is
Mhm.
what it is, right? Be authentic to yourself and minimize the deceit. That would fix most of the problems of the characters in the series. It's like don't hide things, just be who you are, right? That does that
That's a good
fix
answer.
would that fix a lot of the
No,
problems? Yeah, so
also,
that might be
yeah,
the message and takeaway. Yeah.
good answer.
When you're filming, this world and these characters become a huge part of your everyday life. What part of your characters do you think stayed with you after wrapping?
Oh, well, like I mentioned earlier, David certainly goes through a very extreme journey at times. I think what stayed with me without giving away too many spoilers, he faces a tremendous struggle internally, and then at some points in the story, he does have hope, he does find peace, and that's what stayed with me. I think I was able to relinquish a lot of things that I was holding on to in my personal life, and I certainly don't envy the position that David's in, but I've grown as a person thanks to the time that I got to spend with him.
Andrew is I had so much fun playing him because he's just so despicable, but lovable at the same time. And one of the things that I just adore about him is that he has no filter and he just says what's on his mind. And they're usually things that you keep to yourself. And it was very refreshing for me to do that. And it felt really good. And in the moment when I was performing him on set, I'm like, hey, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe I can say more of what my inner monologue says. And I've taken that with me, but to varying degrees of
Mm.
success in life.
The show is called The Season. If this season represents a chapter in your character's life, what would you call that chapter?
A new leaf.
Oh man, and this chapter would oh it would be the vault
Mm.
full of
Mm.
secrets.
Working with such an amazing ensemble cast, were there any moments on set or scenes that really stuck out to you as ones that surprised you or maybe went a different direction than you expected based off of a scene partner and a creative choice they made? What was that like for you as a creative?
There was a scene in episode 6 that I had with Celine and Jade, who was one of my main scene partners. Wonderful, wonderful actress and scene partner and a friend. We'd been through a long journey together as characters, and there's a scene on the boat where it's a very important moment for both of us, very heightened. And on the page, it's not a very long scene. It didn't really call for a big dramatic emotional moment, but when we were doing it, we found ourselves surprised by the emotion that we were experiencing, and it took us. We were both not expecting it to go that way, but it did, and it felt right, and we were just in it together. And I remember hearing Mariali. She was a wonderful director to work with, but this was the first time I heard her say this. She said "fantastico," and
Oh, that's high
yeah, and it was
praise.
like, I mean, we were just so in it, and so when I heard it, I didn't even really register. But I went home that night, and I felt this heaviness and a sorrow in my heart, and I was like, why am I feeling this way? And then I remember it's like, oh yes. I just did that scene with Selena, and I think that just goes to show how great of a scene partner she is, and how much we were able to build that relationship and chemistry. And that was a scene, a really tender moment that took us both by surprise.
There is a scene that's probably my favorite scene in the first episode. The thing is, we all know Jessie as a human being, and she's hilarious. She's so charismatic and funny in real life. She's such a character. And then we're introduced to Cola, who is putting on this mask and this facade and trying to be someone and hiding all these secrets and the Cola has the job of carrying all this information and exposition at the start of the episode and introducing us to this world. There's a lot going on with her, and it's the first time that I saw this scene is the first time that I saw Jessie in that. I was like, oh, this is the fun part.
Mm,
It's early on, and it's with Lincoln, who's hilarious. Uh, and that scene on the page is not really anything. It's
mm,
just this moment. I don't know. I don't want to spoil it because it's also a really great scene. But on the page, it was probably like one line or two lines,
mm.
and they have a couple lines of dialogue, and it's just nothing. It's just this moment of awkwardness. But when I saw it in this, you know which scene I'm talking about.
No.
When they first meet.
Okay.
It's hilarious on
Yeah.
screen, and that is a testament to the comedic genius of both of those character actors. I didn't see it that way at all, and it completely changed my way of thinking about that
I
scene.
remember
I
now. Yeah.
love that scene. Can we talk about that scene?
Probably not.
Yeah.